Hey Saber fans, this is Adam from Blue Force Sabers. Welcome back. So I was checking out this new soundboard here. This is the Warsabers Core version 1 board, and I didn't see too many reviews out there, so I wanted to do a quick review of this. If you were wondering what the board was about, it's not as popular as some of the other ones out there from Plector Labs and Nigon Electronics and some of the other manufacturers, but I think this board is really awesome and deserves a review. So if you were thinking about it and looking over the details of it or not sure of it at all, I figured I'd do a review since there weren't too many out there. So so this is going to be a two-part review. The first part's going to be just going over the board and the details of it, the dimensions, how it kind of sets up with the other boards and stuff like that, so you can see the size comparison, a couple of the features, and then part two will actually be installed into the Saber, so you can actually see it in action. So let's go over the board a little bit. So you can see it's pretty slim, so it makes it for good for smaller installs as far as the dimension goes. Now I usually install my boards in a 1-inch steel tube, so when it comes to doing installs, as far as the width of the board makes a huge difference. It is a little bit longer board, as you can see, but that really doesn't bother me so much. It would be a little bit tougher on tighter builds, but you can definitely make it work, especially with the width of the board. So with this board, it's 22 by 70.3 by 6.5 millimeters. That's the physical dimensions of it. One of the beautiful things about this board is that it's already pre-resistored for your LED and for your switch, and that you can actually see over here on the side. So these are the resistors right here for the LED, so you don't need to use any resistors whatsoever, and that's a huge time saver. And when you're really getting into the tightness of the build and stuff like that, you don't have to worry about the resistors or calculating them or anything. So that's a beautiful feature of this board. It can handle a full Tri-Cree or Luxion Tri-Star LED, and it runs at 1.25 amps per channel. You can find all this information on Warsaber's website. There's a PDF you can download. You can run off a standard 18650 battery. It can handle a 2-watt 4-ohm or 8-ohm speaker, which is nice. And then if you can see down here at the end, it has a micro SD. So, and the great thing with that too is that you can charge it through that micro SD port. So you really don't need to use a kill key or to charge it up that way, as far as a recharge port. With the kill key too, this has a great deep sleep mode, so that's a huge saver on space when you're doing an install, and it's just an extra part now you don't have to worry about, because it has a deep sleep mode. I think all boards should come with that and make that pretty much a standard now, and this one has it, so it's fantastic. So on the opposite side here, you have the micro SD card spot right here. So, and one of the fantastic things with this board is that you can put as many fonts as you like on there. There's no limitations, unlike some of the other boards where you can only install 3 or 4 or 12 or 10. Or if they're just preloaded on there, you can install as many fonts as you like on this. There is no limitation. It's basically the limitation of your SD card and the size of it. So that's fantastic. Also this is a full RGB board, so you can have as many colors on here, blade colors, as you like. There's no limitations on that. So that's pretty fantastic. So if you have any Plector boards, as in the Prism, so if you have sound fonts for those, you can put these side by side so you can kind of see size comparison. So if you have those boards and you have sound fonts for them already, you can use the same sound fonts that you have on those boards with this one. It just, on the SD card, it just goes on and a slightly different format than the Plector boards use. But as far as the sound file and stuff, it's still WAV font. So you can transfer those over, and you just have to follow the layout that they have on the SD card. Not that big of a deal, but you know, it's just a little different. So you get all your swing, spin, clash, blaster, stab, combo, lockup, and force effects. So that's really fantastic. It's a premium board. Not all boards give you that, but this one does. And one other point is that is actually with shipping. It's made over in Russia, so it does take some time to get. But with shipping, it's I believe it's around $85. So it's under $100 for the board. Also, you can do accent LEDs on it. And that's over on the side here. I'll flip it over. There you go. So right here you can wire up your accent LEDs if you like to do a crystal chamber. Let's see. So, I mean, there's a couple other things with it. Nothing too, I mean, you still have the sensitivity on it is great. You have your flicker effects and stuff like that. So let's just go over the layout of the board. So I really like the layout of this one. It's pretty easy to solder up. They give you big solder pads, and they're spaced apart. So if you've ever done an install and some of the tighter boards, this is the Nano Biscotti V4, and you can see the difference between the two. I mean, it's a little bit tighter, the pad's a little bit smaller, and they're all lined up on this one where it's a little more spread out. So on this side you have the LEDs, which are all pre-resistored, and then you have your power, so your battery is these two on the end, and then you have your switches on the other side over here for your illuminated. Down here is your speaker, and then your accent LEDs, and then if you wanted to include a recharge port, that would be wired up on this side here. So it's super easy to install as far as the layout goes, and I like how they included the battery. Actually, the battery I would prefer over on this side. It's just the way I wire it, but I like how they have all the LED on this side and then the switch on this side, because just the way you run your wires down from your Saber onto the board, it's nice to have it on all one side, because that's where the wires are coming from. And then the accent LEDs, a little bit more spaced out down here on the other side. Now, if they could kind of put the speaker down here and the battery down on this side, I would prefer that, but that's just a preference of mine. Doesn't matter too much, but, you know, that's just a preference that I would like. So it's pretty thin as well, as you can see. So I'll just put it up to size comparison with the other boards here. Try to lay them out somewhat even. So from left to right, you have the Nano Biscotti, you have the Prism 5.1 soundboard. That's the Warsabers. This one is from Custom Dark Wolf Sabers. This is their RGB board. That's the new one they just came out, version 4, I believe. And this is Nigon Electronics Spark board, Spark 2, I believe. So you can see the size comparison of them. The Warsabers is definitely a bit longer, but it is pretty slim. Let's say it's probably, let me see, maybe the Prism board. Yeah, these are probably just about the same in width. So you can kind of see the width comparison of them. It's just a slight overhang. But like I said, it wouldn't be a problem with installing it in a slim Saber. You just have to take in account the length of the board. And as you can see with the Nano Biscotti, it is quite a bit smaller. So if you're going with a really small build, Obviously the Nano Biscotti would be the one to go with, because that is quite the difference in size. But for me, the length of the board doesn't matter, so just the width is where I run into the problems. This board's a bit thicker just because of the parts that it has on it. This is pre-resistored as well. You're not sure about that board. But the other three of these, you would have to use resistors to install those. So that's a huge bonus for me. You don't have to worry about resistors at all. It's just less time consuming, so you don't have to, you know, incorporate those into your build. So that's pretty much it with the layout of the board, the dimensions of it, and stuff like that. I wanted to give you just a quick overview so you could see compared to the other ones. I really like the board. I think it's fantastic. They really thought of a lot of features with it. And you really get a lot of premium stuff with the price and the form factor of it compared to others. And then, you know, with that micro SD, you really get that extra bonus of being able to recharge with it. One other thing before I go on to part 2, so you can actually see it function within a Saber, is that when you're charging it, if you have an illuminated switch, it will give you an indicator on the switch, letting you know that it's being charged. Another thing too is that when the battery is going low, the LED on the switch starts flickering, so it lets you know that it's getting low and that you might need to change the battery or recharge it. So I think those two little things also are a nice benefit to the board. So if you have any questions on it, please hit me up in the comments and I'll be happy to ask them or answer them for you. So that's end of part 1, so we'll move on to part 2 so you can check that out and see the board in action. So welcome back. This is part 2 of the Warsabers review of the board. So this is my God of War Saber I just completed. If you want to check out the full review of it, I just posted that on YouTube, but I want to concentrate more on the board instead of the Saber on this one. So I installed it, the Warsabers board in this one. I really like the way it was and all the features of it. So I went and incorporated my personal Saber. So let's just fire it up and we'll go over a couple of the things. So just tapping the button will power on the Saber. Tap it again. We'll go into lockup mode. Now if you tap the button, the main button, it will go into lockup, and if you hit the auxiliary, it'll put it into a pulsing, as you can see there. That's the blaster effects. So the reason why they did it that way is because you can make it a steady blade or a pulsing blade, and they call that on the fly. So you can change it without turning your Saber off if you just want to switch up a couple of the features. As I said in the other part, it's got all the blaster sounds, clash, swing, force FX, stab, spin, combo. The board's super sensitive, but you can turn all those settings down if you don't like it that sensitive, or you just want it a little bit more. I kind of like the sensitivity up. Now a quick kind of jerk of the Saber will incorporate or a quick snap of the Saber will incorporate a clash sound in there. So I'll try to do this with one hand here. To switch to the blade colors on the fly, you have to press both buttons at the same time. There you go. You have to hold them down which is kind of nice. You have to hold it down for a second, so you don't get accidental, blade changes. So you can change through the colors. In the profile, INI file, you can change the actual colors of... Turn this off for a second so you can hear me. So in the INI file, you can actually add the colors or change them with the flash effects. Also with the flicker, you can change all that. So if you can have it on automatically instead of changing it on the fly. I kind of like the on the fly, so I left it that way. Sometimes I don't want the flicker on, and so I just, I keep it that way so I can change it on the fly. So to get into the menu of this and to switch to the different sound fonts,
settings,
you're just going to hold down the button, and then it'll tell you to go into the settings. And you can actually change those sounds too. So if you don't want it to say settings, you can change it to a sound, or you can make your own sounds. Which I probably actually will do as well, just to make it more customized.
Next color.
So you can tap the main button to search through the colors.
Next color. Next color. Next color. Next color. Next color.
So to go through all your color profiles.
Next font.
Horizon.
So tap in the secondary button will change through the fonts.
Next font.
Vengeance.
Next font.
Newborn Seep.
Next font.
So that's one of my other sound fonts. So if you like that, or if you wanted to switch something else.
Next color. Sound volume high.
So now holding the button down will switch the volume of it. I like it on the medium.
Sound off.
So if you wanted a silent mode, take it into a convention where you don't want the sound on.
Sound volume low. Sound volume middle.
So that's the one I prefer. I think it's a good sound volume for it. And then to save the settings,
settings saved.
Just hold the button in and it'll save it. And then it fires up to the last one that you put it on. So that's pretty much it with the soundboard. Like I said, I really like the soundboard. I hope the review helps you in making a decision. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments, and I'd be happy to help you with it. So until next time, take care and God bless.